Welcome back. Today, I just wanted to tell you about some of my many lessons in life, and we're going to talk about relationships specifically, not even just dating. We're going to cover the broad topic of family, friends, dating. So, for starters, me. We'll start with dating because that's a fun one. I'm the type of person who, when I date someone, I have a set of standards. You have to have a set of standards, or you're going to end up with somebody who's either mentally abusive and you can't escape that relationship, or mentally or physically abusive. Physically is not as common nowadays. That's kind of old school, but people still abuse their partners. It happens. It's a thing. For my kids, I just pray that you're like your dad in that regard, to where you don't need anybody to make you happy. Once you understand that mentality of, I don't need a relationship. Relationships are a bonus in life. That is how they should be. Then you will always find your peace. And you will always find your way back to that peace when you are in an unhealthy relationship. I have been through a few unhealthy relationships. My first ex, I got with her when I was 15, and we broke up the day before my senior year in high school, when I was almost getting ready to turn 18. So we were together for almost 3 years. That's insane. That's a long time to be with a partner at that young age, right? But what happened to me, these are some lessons that I've learned along the ways, because this was the only relationship that I've ever had where that partner left me. Every other relationship was me walking away because of all the lessons I learned from the one. Yes, I lost my V card, if you will, to that first partner, right? And fell in love with her. She fell in love with me. But me having so much inexperience to long-term relationships, I dated a lot when I was in middle school, but not long-term relationships. There's a huge difference. I turned into a controlling partner. I was just not happy with her, and we spent way too much time together, which is a huge problem. Shouldn't spend every second of every day with your partner. I learned that in that relationship, and I also learned how to not be a controlling partner, because I was over the top controlling. I didn't even want this girl to have a phone. That's too extra, if you ask me. So yes, if my kids are seeing that, and you know how I am, I never used to be this way. I used to be horrible when I was with her, and as a result, she cheated on me for good reason. If I was in her shoes, I probably would have done the same thing after almost 3 years. And I was broken after that. She wouldn't even admit it to me. She didn't have the courage to admit, even though everybody already knew, because we were working at Wendy's together. And I had to leave the job, because when you are in a place where there's a toxic relationship happening, you can't work with that person. Like, it's almost impossible. Save yourself the headache, the frustrations, and just get a new job. That's what I did, okay? So we're gonna talk about my second relationship, which was, I was 19, almost 20 when we got together. And we were together for, in total, about 2 years. But there was like a 3-month breakup in the summer. Okay, well, she was my first experience getting with, I lowered my standards a bit. Let's just say that. She wasn't ugly by any means, but she was a little on the heavier side. Not huge or anything, but, just bigger than what I was normally chasing after, because I always chased, yes, and my kids, if you're seeing this, in high school, I always chased after the prettiest girls. I had like the highest standards known to man, and I dated a lot. I was a guy still trying to find himself. Let's be honest. So, but anyway, so I lowered my standards a lot. That's why I had to emphasize that, because of how I was in high school. Because after being cheated on in my first relationship, I was like, well, if I lower my standards a bit and get with someone, then they're liable to be more loyal to me. So I thought. Well, that actually turned out to be true. She was very loyal, and I'm convinced that she was just head over heels over me. Like, she was madly in love with me. I could not find that same kind of love, though. That was the problem. And then I found out about 6 months into that relationship, she was a compulsive liar. And I got very good and skilled with reading people and catching people in lies, asking the right questions. Okay, I'm not gonna spend too much time on this because I don't want the video to be too long. But then we fast forward to, I took 4 years off of dating in between that, like long-term dating. Obviously, like, you know, I was on like dating apps or whatever. I had no intentions of really like just hoeing around. That wasn't really my style. I may have had some moments, you know, but when you're single for so long, I feel like it's easy to fall into that mental place where it like starts consuming most of your, you know, time, where you're like, I just need to like, I need companionship, I guess. But anyway, my third long-term relationship, we got engaged. Her name, I'm not even gonna say her name, but she was, I'll just say African-American girl. So I was, you know, I always had an attraction, if I'm being honest. But she couldn't have kids. That was the only drawback. And I was okay with that. I told her, I was just like, you know what? If that's the cards that God has dealt me, then, you know, like, it is what it is. We can always just adopt. Like, that is, like, that's fine. I was willing to work with her. And this is not an attempt to make it seem like I'm Mr. Perfect, because I messed up a lot in my life. And I'm trying to tell you the rights and wrongs and the lessons in between. So, after being with her, she had like mental health issues really bad over the fact that she couldn't have kids. Like, that third ex could not have kids. And she used to lash out on me all the time over it. And yeah, that it was not fun. And I tried to, you know, do the thing to myself that I can't really say, but, you know, the hurt part, yeah, well, she also did. And it was, it just turned into a toxic relationship that we kept going back to each other. And we were engaged and just kept trying to make it work before I finally just walked away from her too. And yeah, so my take on relationships, summary, do not be a controlling partner. Whatever insecurities you think you have about going through their phone, it's not freaking worth it. It is not worth going through your partner's phone, ever. The minute you make that mistake of feeling the need to go through your partner's phone, number one, it better be a damn good reason. But number two, you're gonna do it again. Once you break that and you do it once, you're gonna do it again. Because you're always gonna find something. You're always going to. Some things are not worth fighting over, and trust me when I say, you don't need to know exactly every freaking detail of what your partner does in their day-to-day life. You really don't. When you're in love with somebody, yeah, you're gonna want, when you're inexperienced with love, you're gonna wanna know everything. Who, if they talk, in my case, if they talk to a dude, if you're a girl, if they talk to a, you know, like a girl, whatever, like, it's very easy, but you have to find yourself. And I don't say this in a selfish way, but you have to be selfish sometimes, because if you don't take care of yourself, how do you expect yourself to take care of somebody else, especially a relationship? Yeah, it's not that easy. So case in point, don't settle for less than what you deserve. And also, looks ain't everything, but don't get with some, you know, someone that's hit, basically. You know, you got to have a set of standards, and those standards should be determined, in my opinion, by personality. Can you tolerate this person? Because everybody's crazy, but does their crazy match mine? Oh, looks like baby's done with her baba. So I guess that's all for today. We settled with just talking about dating. So I hope you learned a valuable lesson from this. Don't be a controlling partner. Don't feel the need to go through your partner's phone, because the truth will always come out. You might not think it will. My experience says otherwise. The truth always comes out, especially when you're smart. Just don't go looking for answers. And yeah, that's all for today.